Hey there, I'm Lucy Kyllonen, and I want to welcome you to the Chosen Voices podcast. It's the show where women make waves using their voices. Women like you and like me. We're moms, leaders, students, entrepreneurs, and even those of us that are wearing several different hats. So stick around and learn what it really means to use your voice to make waves in this world. Hello, welcome. This is episode 3 of Chosen Voices, and I'm so excited because I have a special guest with us here today, but I'm going to introduce her in a little bit. For those of you that are brand new to Chosen Voices, first of all, thank you. Make sure that you say hello in the comment section. If you want to use an emoji, whatever you want to, say hi. Let us know that you're live, that you're with us, that you're tuning in. Even if you're watching on the replay, you can still make comments. We'll go back and look at these comments. But first, let me introduce myself formally. I am Lucy Kyllonen, lead pastor's wife of here, Crossover Church. Been married 26 years, in ministry 26 years. I have 2 teenage daughters. And I love to empower women. I'm the director of the Chosen Women's Ministry. As a matter of fact, we are celebrating 15 years of ministry. Chosen! So we're going to be celebrating in just a couple of weeks. So let me throw that in here as well. We have a dinner cruise that's planned for September 10th. So make sure that you're following us on our other social media platforms, especially Facebook. We have the event page there. If you have the Crossover app, you can use the Crossover app to register for it. But it's going to be an exciting opportunity, exciting event. So I hope you can make it. But I want to just share really quick about the podcast, because I want everyone to know that for us doing this podcast, it wasn't just to do a podcast because we have the opportunity to do a podcast. We have a podcast because we have a mission, and our mission here is to inspire someone who maybe is disheartened right now. Our mission is going to be to encourage. If you are a woman and you are discouraged right now, we're hoping that through our voices and the stories that you're going to hear, you're going to be encouraged. Our mission too is to stir up some passion and creativity and purpose in your life. This podcast has been created by women for women. So make sure that you also share this. Share this with a friend right now. Share it with someone that you know can use something uplifting and encouraging in her life. But my favorite part about this is that you're going to hear from a lot of different voices, a lot of different women from different backgrounds, but they're all making waves. All of them are using their voices to create waves here, the way that God has called us to do this. So this podcast is all about that, women making waves. This is waves of transformation, waves of determination, waves of courage, waves of purpose. That's what it's about, because we've all been chosen to make waves. All right. Okay, so as you guys are on jumping in and sharing this, I also want to ask you a quick question. We're going to be touching on success today and what success really looks like. So my question to you as you are watching this right now is, what would be 3 qualities that you would say make up a successful woman? Go ahead and put that in the comment section. Put that in the chat. What would be 3 qualities that you believe make up a successful woman? And we'll come back to your comments in a minute. But I get to introduce to you I keep saying guest, but the reality is you're a friend. I mean, we've known each other for several years now. But this is Dr. Carmen right next to me. And Dr. Carmen, yes, Dr. Carmen, she is a native Floridian. Now, you don't hear that very often, but she's also had the opportunity to live in other places and spaces as well, and venture out and do some new things. She is the wife of our executive pastor, Pastor Christopher Harris, here at Crossover. She's a mom. She's a sister. She is an educator, so she loves to educate children and adults. We know that she has a calling on her life, and I got to throw this in there as well. So if you've been to our chosen events, a lot of times you're going to notice that Dr. Carmen is the one in charge of our games and activities. So we call her the game queen because she is just, that's another gift. Like, she is amazing at coming up with activities and just games that are related to our theme. And so I know that we're going to have an opportunity for you to talk about more about what you're doing and what you're about. But I like to ask some fun questions in the beginning to kind of get a taste of, all right, Dr. Carmen, who is she? But I know that as kids, a lot of times we dreamt about what we wanted to do when we grew up. So I want to know, and you can let our audience know, what was something that as a child you wanted to do and why?
As a child, I always wanted to be a teacher.
Okay.
I wanted to be a teacher. I would make my siblings sit and listen to me teach. And then I started teaching Sunday school at the church at the age of 11. And I taught them. Then I moved up to like the teenage group. So I always wanted to be a teacher. And I think it's because I like to talk. That's probably like the why. But I always wanted to be a teacher. That's my dream job.
Wow. And so you that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So the crazy thing is that I wanted to be a teacher as well.
See?
As a kid.
Come on back.
Yep. But I do it in a different space right now.
Yeah.
My title is not teacher, but
Yeah.
I remember as a kid, if I wasn't the teacher, then I was the principal.
Like that.
Yeah, and I played with my cousins, and I graded papers and all that. But the Lord took me on a different route.
Yeah.
But it's similar. I'm still teaching, but in a different capacity, I should say.
Yeah.
So how about superpower? Like, if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
I want to read minds.
Yeah.
That's kind of spooky, but I think I would want to read minds.
And then you'd want to read minds. Why? Like, what would be your intention behind it?
So that, because I'm a strategist naturally, and so I like the information gathering. So if I could read minds, it's like one step ahead, and so it helps with my strategy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got strategy here. You want to be one step ahead of people, all right? Okay.
Yes.
So how about your favorite movie? Do you have like a favorite all-time movie?
I do.
And you got to tell them too what your favorite channel is.
So my favorite channel, I'll start with that one, is Lifetime Movie Network. And I remember when Lifetime started, maybe 20 years ago, and I've probably been watching Lifetime that long.
Wow.
That faithfully. Probably have seen every movie, and I do it because it's so not real. You know, that thing you have to do when you just want to relax.
So you like that? You like the fact that it's not real?
Yes,
okay.
Those things cannot happen. Interestingly enough, I don't watch the ones that are like based on a true story. I don't like those.
Wow.
Nope, I don't like those. I like the ones that are so not real.
Okay.
So that's what I watch. But my favorite movie is Ghostbusters 2. And that's the movie that Pastor Christopher proposed to me to. But it was my favorite movie before that, and he proposed using it because it was my favorite movie.
Listen, all right. Well, now that you said that, now you got to tell us about that. Tell us.
Yes. Well, if you've ever seen the movie, I'm not telling you to go and watch it, but I do watch it like once a year, so I did watch it 2 weeks ago. But there's this ghost scene, and it's the second one, not the first one, but there's this scene in the court where it's like they're back, because if you've watched the first one to the second one, there's a 5-year gap, and now they're back, like they've rebirthed because there are ghosts in the city and they're in court, and the ghosts make an appearance, which is my favorite part of the movie. And right at that part in the movie, he had come over, Pastor Christopher, to ask me to watch this movie. He got this movie, and right at that part, the screen went black. And he was on there, had dropped himself in video.
What?
And says, "Carmen, will you marry me?" And then it goes back to the movie, and I'm like, what? And I looked over, and he was on his knee. So that's how he proposed.
How romantic.
So I can watch it anytime. Yeah.
So is that why you watch it like once a year as well?
Right,
like,
yeah, to remember
reminisce?
why I said yes, yes, yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for letting the audience know that. So now we're going to get into the nitty gritty.
Okay.
All right. We're going to get into really getting to know Dr. Carmen. So share what you're currently doing in life right now, what the audience can learn more about you.
Okay. Currently, I am an elementary school principal, newly appointed.
Woohoo!
Yes, thank you. I've been an assistant principal in that role for about 8 years. And then this is my 24th year in education, so you can kind of do the math. I was an academic coach as well and a classroom teacher. I am driven to impact those that cannot advocate for themselves. That's really why I do what I do, and that's why I don't work at any school. I only go to certain schools. So I am driven to advocate for those where the parents need help, where the students need help, where the community needs help, because it's more than just, getting a school grade. And those things are good, but it's really about how do you impact lives, and I see that through impacting parents. I see that through changing the community, just the way they see themselves, and learning to really appreciate and understand that everyone has a gift to give, and I can help them create that space. So that's what I do.
Wow, love that. Thank you for serving in that way too, because I know that not everyone in your shoes would have the same type of purpose or mission when it comes to being a principal or even a teacher, for that matter. So it's obvious that you love what you do. So that's important.
Yes.
When you have a job. But I know that's not the only thing that you do also. You're involved in several other things. So talk to us about that.
Well, another is related to ministry. My husband started a Clubhouse, and if you're not familiar with Clubhouse, it's an app, audio app. He actually started a prayer group literally from just logging on one day saying, who wants to pray? Just like he was going to do this 15-minute prayer, like whoever wants to log in and pray. And it's merged into, I think, like there are 14,000 members now that follow this Clubhouse, and they pray Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the a.m. And from that, we merged into the cry and the support for women. So we do what's called Women in the Word every Thursday at 7. Okay. And that is geared to give specific targeted support to women that are just foundational teachings, because sometimes, we can be a part of ministries, but the Sunday service is not always geared specifically for foundational teaching of like women's needs. Like when you talk about what does God say about women, and you talk about roles, and not that you get into traditional roles. I'm not talking about that, but just the empowerment of women and who we are and what we mean to God. And so that's a space designed for that. So we do that every Thursday. So that's the cool part. I'm also a mommy. I have 4 children. I'm embarrassed to say their ages, but I'll say it. Say it. I have a 19-year-old. She is a sophomore in college. I have a 15-year-old sophomore in high school, 14-year-old freshman in high school.
And then
my new BFF, she's 4. And so we have a 4-year-old. And someone asked us, they said, did you guys plan that way? And I was like, not quite. But, once it's there, not much you can do about it. Right. So I'm a mom, a wife. We've been married 22 years. And
congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yes. Those are the primary roles: school administrator, the work in ministry. I also work here in Chosen in the women's ministry as the game queen. And I enjoy that because that taps into what you all call my creative side. And it's so funny because with my siblings, I'm the least creative person.
Are you really?
I am. So it's so funny when they're like, you're so creative. And I'm like, my nickname with my family is Plain Jane.
Oh, wow.
Plain Jane. So I just,
Wouldn't have guessed that.
So it's cool to be able to tap into different things, but it says what encouragement can do for a person, right? When you hear the positive affirmations that you can continue to push and do more.
Yep. Yeah. So you mentioned 22 years married, right? And there's also something that you guys are, you and Pastor Christopher are involved in, and that's the marriage ministry here at Crossover. So can you share a little bit about that as well?
Sure, yes. So we are the leaders of that ministry as well, and we look to also empower in that area. So we have the monthly maintenance on Mondays, and that's usually on Zoom. We try to do, which we have been doing, quarterly outings as a way to show date night, to appreciate, show love. And what's cool about our monthly maintenance pieces is you always have homework. So it's always funny when you see the couples and they're like, telling on each other, she didn't do her homework or he didn't do their homework, because it's really about how do we make we're not just existing as couples, but we're thriving and we enjoy being married to each other. Because it's, we can be married and you have people that, get married, stay married, but it's important that I like you. Right. And that I like being married too. So that part is a big part of what we're trying. We really try to push the excitement and the love and the partnership and camaraderie of marriage. So awesome. That's what we do. Yep.
Yes, I love it. So I'm actually going to ask you a question that I wasn't planning to ask you. But before I do, let me go back to the audience real quick. Because audience, I want to hear from you. And I want to know, what do you think are maybe it's just one, but one or two traits that make up a successful woman? And there's a reason why I'm asking you this. And so, Dr. Carmen, as I'm listening to you speak, I'm imagining, and I could be wrong, but I'm imagining that there might be someone out there listening and they're thinking, how in the world does she do all of that? How does she do how do you balance? How are you so involved with all this? And you have 4 kids, right? So could you weigh in on that?
Sure,
how would you answer that?
Sure. My kids are raising themselves, guys. No. I will say it's a couple of things. Of course, faith, right? You got to have a prayer life.
Absolutely.
And because God gives you fresh downloads and fresh revelation and fresh energy to do what you do. That's the first part. The second part I'll say is a schedule. Everything is scheduled. I am a stickler for a schedule. I am very regimented. So I get up in the morning, I can show you my watch. I work out before I go to work. Because certain things have to happen and you have to make space for certain things. So I work out before, but it's on a schedule. Everything is very regimented. And it's a partnership with my husband and I. So you don't think it's just me. I have a great partner. He does morning duty. I can work out. I can get dressed. I can go. He gets the kids dressed. He gets them to school. And that's been a big part of what we do. Even at school, I guess I got to shout him out. Even at school, he's the parent that the school is going to see. He's the person that goes to parent conferences. I don't do those things. Funny story, when we were moving here from Chicago, this is crazy, and I can't believe I'm telling it publicly, but I'll do it.
Tell it. That's what we're here for.
We were moving here from Chicago because he does all medical visits. He does doctor's visits, dentist visits. He does all of that. And so he had said, wife, I need you to go and pick up the kids' medical records as we're moving to Florida. I said, great. Tell me where to go. So he gives me the address, and I show up, and I say, I'm here to pick up the medical records for the Harris kids. And they say, oh, okay, who is their primary? I said, hold on one second. I gotta call. So I pick up the phone to call. This lobby full of women are looking at me like, you are a sorry mother. Right? So I have to call them. I was like, hey, who is the kid's primary? So I was like, hey, my husband said, and of course these people are looking at me like, you are awful. But it's the partnership that makes it work. And so he knew their primaries. And so that's something that most people may not know about our household. But if the kids need something at school, that's the person that they call. They know, call your dad. Your dad's going to take care of those things. So that's been a big part of how I could actually get my degrees, how I was able to do my work. Right. And so, and also a schedule. So I gotta say he is fabulous at helping with those things. And I don't even cook often.
Well, you don't cook. Oh my goodness. I love that. But you heard it, ladies. So you have partnership, right? and a schedule. And that's so important. And the fact that you guys know what your roles are, you're okay with that. So who cares what everybody else was thinking about you, right? It was working for you, and it's still working to this day. So thank you for, for sharing that. Because I think oftentimes people have this image, and I'm going to share this too, because we're both pastors' wives, right? And I think sometimes, there's an expectation put on us. We're put on a pedestal, and people think that we just arrived, and we haven't. Like there's been a journey, there's a backstory, but this is what I know. This is our story. This is my story. This is her, story, and this is how God has, ordained it. And I think it's important for people to know, like, one, it's not picture perfect. And so here we have like that whole example with going to the doctor's office, completely the opposite of what we're used to, but you're okay with that. And it's worked for your family. So, thank you again for sharing that. And that, again, our lives have been, scheduled, ordained, everything, worked out by God. And we're here because of what he's called us to do. And I love what you said earlier, that when you are pressing in and you're spending time in prayer, he gives you a new, refreshed energy, right? Even new vision. He's the one that gives us our strength. Think about it, right? Like, I know for myself, I can say that I can't be here today if it wasn't for me tapping into God's strength. I can't do it on my own. I absolutely need the Holy Spirit's, help with that. So again, thank you. But I want to talk about, success, because I think another question, like I'm talking about right now, is that they're thinking, not only the balancing, right? Like, how does she do it all? But also, like, how did you get here? How did you get to be this successful? Because I'm sure that they're looking at you right now and saying, like, wow, like, how does she get to be so successful? She's a principal, she's married, 4 kids, and involved in ministry, and doing it all. And I'd say doing it with a lot of grace, too. So how would you explain that piece of it, that success piece of it?
Believe it or not, everything that I have came on the back of loss.
Okay.
Wow. And so I shared earlier when you asked me what I want to do, I always wanted to be a teacher. I was going to be a teacher for 30 years. I was going to retire as a teacher. I had no desire to do nothing else. I just wanted to teach the children, save the children. And it took, I remember going on maternity leave with our first child. And I went on maternity leave, and a week later, my husband lost his job. And I had already signed papers that I would not come back for the rest of the year. And so I couldn't go back to work if I wanted to. And she was born in February. So it's like, okay, we're stuck. And so he got a job at Sears, selling vinyl siding. He got a job at, was it Men's Warehouse? I think it was Men's, like a clothing store, because he said, we're going to get through this. I remember not having cable. I remember having just scraping
Bare
by.
minimum.
Bare minimum. And I remember sitting there saying, because I had no other options at the moment, that I would never be in a spot where I have no options. Because I remember feeling that way. I couldn't help him. I've got this baby. You can't put her in daycare because daycare is $10,000. Right. So it was just like, this is a spot where I don't want to be. So that was the first time I faced like a wall. And I remember the conversation that I had with my principal that moment. And he said, man, you'd make a great leader. And I was like, not me. I don't know what you're talking about. Not me. I'm a teacher. And he kept saying, but you've got that it factor. And I was like, I don't know what it is. I don't know. And it was when we experienced that loss that I went back and I got my master's degree, because I said I will not be in that spot again. And I actually never intended to use it. Like, I never intended to use it. And with that in mind, as I moved on and I got my master's degree, and I became an academic coach, which is kind of like a teacher, but you're coaching teachers instead of students. And so I was going to do that for the rest of my career. I'm going to do this 30 years. I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do. And then we moved to Chicago, and I try to get a teaching position. So I've been a coach. I've got all of these years of experience, and I go to apply for a 3rd grade teaching position around the corner. And I didn't get a third grade teaching position.
No.
And I'm like, I could teach third grade in my sleep. And the lady said to me, I know that, but you'll only be here a year. This is temporary for you. You are bigger than this.
Wow.
And I remember being mad at her about that because I wanted the job. But it was a feeling that I had, and I said, I'll never feel this way again. So I will only go for jobs that meet my criteria and my qualifications. And I became an assistant principal then. That's how I became an assistant principal.
So isn't it crazy how it always takes somebody else seeing it in you?
Yes.
Whether it's that it factor, leadership,
Yes.
potential. It's
Yes.
always someone else that sees it in you before you see it in yourself.
Because I would still be a teacher because that's what I wanted to do. And then even going to get the doctorate degree, it was after losing my father and sitting in a spot of grief and saying, what do I do with this grief? Okay. You take your grief and you build on it. Wow. It's a part of legacy. So I became Dr. Because my dad would always say, Dr. Harris. You know? I became Dr. Harris as a way to attribute and give qualities that was provided to us as children, which is love God and love people. So that's what we do. So if you look at my dissertation, at the end it says we are to love God and love people. So every success moment for me really came on the back of loss. Yeah. On the back of loss.
And so your dad was already speaking that life into you and speaking that into your life, calling you doctor before you even had that title. So he knew.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes, ma'am.
So with that, to help some of the ladies out, to give them something tangible, what would be some qualities that you would attribute? I know that you're saying that it's been on the back end of loss, but you and yourself now, where you're at today, what are some of the qualities that you can say, these are some of the qualities that I have, and I know that because of these qualities, I am where I am today?
Yes. A finisher.
Okay.
If I start it,
oh my goodness, yes,
I'm going to finish it. And if you ask the people around me, I'm going to harass them until they finish theirs. Because I think that's, if you set a goal, and you make it manageable and you make it attainable and you progress monitor or you track your success towards that goal, then finish. I believe in finishing. If you're going to start, you should finish. So I think that's a part of it, So usually things that I set out to do, I'm going to finish them, right? Yeah.
So I imagine that you do that with your kids too.
I do. It's like harassment, but you
it's
finish.
A good kind of harassment.
Like you finish. If you start something, now if you're unable for an appropriate reason to, because sometimes plans change,
right?
Or you're at a different season in your life and you have to revisit what that looks like, but it's never okay to just not.
Right.
Right, that's just not okay.
Okay, so before you go on with the other qualities, why is it that other people don't finish?
Sometimes I think they haven't. There's a scripture that talks about counting up the cost, right, before you even start a thing, because if you start a thing based on motivate or just emotion, like, oh, I'm going to do this, and you don't have a plan, I guarantee you about 75, 80% of the time, you're not going to finish because you didn't count it up. You don't know what it's going to cost you. You don't know what the strategy is. You don't know what the appropriate moves are. So you jump out there prematurely and then you fall. So that's usually what happens. But when you sit and count up a cost, so if you say, I'm going back to school, okay, I'm going to start here. This is when I'm going to do it. So what do I need to do now to lead up to that, to be ready at this time? Then you have a greater likelihood of being successful. I think it was Dr. Charles Stanley. It was with Focus on the Family. He was talking about anytime you write a goal beforehand, you physically write it, and then you watch it, you increase the likelihood because you've already spoken to it before.
Exactly.
And so that is really a part of what we do. If we say this is what we're going to do, because we are believers and because we have the Holy Spirit living on the inside of us, we're fueled to do whatever it is that we say we're going to do.
Right. So I love that piece, because the reality is that sometimes we'll have a dream or a vision. So when you're talking about counting up the cost, it's the process, is the journey. And so many people, that's where they either get stuck or they quit. It's on the journey to get to where you want to.
Yes.
Because all they're thinking about is the end result and not thinking about the cost, the sacrifice, the challenges, the speed bumps, everything to get there. So I love that because you're a finisher. So regardless of your circumstances, you're going to make sure that you get to the end result that you've set out to conquer. So what other traits?
I think being organized. Now, I wouldn't call myself an organized person. Most people do. But I'm more of a planner. So, for example, today is what, August 15th? I've already planned Christmas. But
Okay.
I know it's now on a broad level, not down to the intricate details, but I try to be before things. So I've already thought about.
You want to plan
Christmas.
ahead,
Yeah.
which I think a lot of us do as women.
Yes.
We do. I'm not at Christmas yet, but I get it.
I'm at Christmas.
I
Like
get
I've
it.
already earmarked like a couple of funds for this and different, but I'm a natural mover like that.
Okay.
It harasses my husband because you can imagine what our vacations are like. I'm like at 10:59, we need to be right here in line doing this, right? But but I just think having your hands on what it is and planning, especially as you're talking about balancing children and balancing work and balancing play, because you have to play, gotta play.
Right.
Balancing those things, you really have to plan and kind of etch out what that looks like and be ahead of it, because life happens, and when life happens, guess what? We can't stop.
Right.
You have to keep going. So, but if I've thought these things through ahead of time, I'm in a better position for when things happen that I didn't prepare for.
So do you use a planner to organize your? No planner. Wow, you are truly gifted.
No, it's just like, I encourage people to write things down. We always do. We always encourage people to write things down, but I just kind of process that way. Like I think of certain things, and it's my planning way, and you plan your own planning way, but just it's the thought process that I've gone through. I've already thought through certain things, certain moves, certain thoughts, and then I activate those in a timely fashion. So that's usually how I do it.
So would you say that in your household, and maybe just in your life in general, like you have routine?
Very.
So, right.
It is very regimented.
Right. So you're able to thrive in that. Mine is the opposite. Mine is completely inconsistent, so I need a planner. Like if I don't have a planner, it's not gonna get done.
Yes.
But I can imagine, just based on what you've been sharing and me personally knowing Pastor Christopher, that you guys are, have routine, you have a rhythm, and so that's what works for you guys.
Yeah.
So I love that. So you said finisher. You're a finisher. The second thing you said was
a planner.
Right, organized.
Organized. Well,
That was
organized with
organized. Okay, one more. What's another quality that you say that you have?
You have to have some get up.
Okay.
Some get up.
What's
what
that?
Get up means
Come on, tell
is
us.
that ability to motivate yourself.
Okay.
Because you don't always have a cheer corner. You don't always have people saying good job. You don't always have people saying you can do it, right? You have to. The scripture talks about David encouraging himself. I was joking with my son the other day.
Yeah.
He plays football, and he said he messed up on a play or something, and the coach get over there on the side. And his head slumped down and everything. And so he's like, I said, well, how did you do on the next play? Well, I didn't do good because, of course, this has gotten into his head. And so I had to tell him, I said, you have to be your own biggest cheerleader. I said, do you ever see football players on the line and it looks like you're like, who are they talking to? No, they're talking to themselves. I'm going to take you down. I'm going to, So sometimes you have to cheer yourself on. You have to be your biggest advocate. You have to remind yourself, God said I can do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to say it, and you amp your own self up to be able to finish.
Right.
And so I would encourage you to get your cheer squad,
Love
yourself,
that.
and I.
Oh, love that. Love that.
Yeah.
One of my favorites. I talk to myself all the time, like constantly, all day long. But I don't know I know it's in the Bible, but I know the scripture is, why so downcast, all my soul? Put your hope in God. And so that was David's way, King David, of encouraging himself. And so I encourage you, we encourage you to encourage yourself. When you have no one else in your corner, you have yourself in your corner. And that's all you need. That is all you need. So I absolutely love that. That reminds me, too, I'm going to go way back, one of our chosen retreats that we did. And we had Lisa McClendon.
Oh,
And
the
corner woman.
man,
Remember that?
yeah,
I've never forgotten that. So yeah, going back there. There's some memories there. So let me look real quick. We have we have some moments here. I'm gonna see what the audience put down. If anyone's at Healing Queens, Miss Emma, she put endurance, perseverance, strength.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay. Christina is asking what school are you at right now?
Kimball Elementary.
Kimball Elementary. And your husband is stalking you. He is on here. He wants to know if men are allowed. We're not going to kick you out. Gosh. Oh, he's calling you the real rock star.
Oh, thank you,
so
husband.
I love this. Awesome. All right. Yep, we got the scripture there. So someone else said faith, persistence, perseverance, and sacrifice. So love it. And you know what? For each person, it's going to be different, right? We've all been wired differently. God has shaped us, differently. But whatever's going to work for you, this is the bottom line here. When God calls you, and my husband said this yesterday, when God calls you, he's going to back you up, right? He qualifies the called. And so, you just have that to just kind of hone in on. So I love it, Dr. Carmen. I love you being able to, to share, because I know oftentimes you tend to be more behind the scenes, even though you're involved in, a lot of these different ministries and involved in a lot of different things. But I think sometimes you can be more behind the scenes. They don't actually get to hear your voice, except that they come to a chosen event and you see her using her gifted skills, her creativity coming out. But I also know that, especially women who are influential and in leadership roles, that oftentimes we can be misunderstood. So is there anything, like, what would you say that people misunderstand about you?
They actually would say I'm mean.
Okay.
I get that a lot. And it could be, I always say it's the tenor of my voice, or because if I am quiet, right, it's behind the scenes, or they're like, it's the unassuming part. So I've always worked really hard to embrace or connect with, or even use, my natural personality is like crazy anyway, like to crack jokes, but I use that as a way to connect and show just like I'm a human person.
Right.
That I am transparent. I like to laugh. I love to watch Lifetime, talk those types of things. But when people see you and you're quiet, it's like, who is she? Like, so that part I think is misunderstood a lot.
Wow, I would have never guessed that. And I guess maybe that's because I know you, so I wouldn't have, assumed that. But again, sometimes people make assumptions based on, right, what they see before they even, get to know you and stuff. But I didn't know that, but wouldn't have thought that. Like I said, you're a cool person. And your husband said you're the rock star here. So.
Thank you, husband.
All right. So as we're wrapping this up here today, what's one big takeaway that you hope our listeners can take away from tonight?
Finish strong. I think that stands out, because sometimes we, particularly as women, we have desires, dreams that you feel like you can't do because you had the children,
right.
because you got married, because they're too little. Dreams deferred are not dreams denied. And so, recognizing the season that you're in, embracing that season, but finishing, and it's okay to do that.
Love that. So you've dropped a lot of great nuggets here tonight. So I want to know, what's been the best advice that you've ever received?
Ooh, best advice I've ever received. It's actually would be something I referenced earlier. I remember talking to my dad just about people and being married to a preacher, it's like, and he said, listen, girl, if you love God and love people, everything always work out. So that's my thing. You love God.
He said it just like that.
He said it just like that. Everything always work out. And so we love God and we love people, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
And that's the best advice.
Oh, I love that. That's what we do here at Crossover.
Yeah.
Love God and love people. So love that. Is there any question that I didn't ask you that you wish I would have asked you?
Maybe about my sports life.
Oh, wait. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
That is so true. So tell me about your sports life. Tell us.
I used to play sports, guys. And I
Okay.
can still take anybody right now
Oh,
on the basketball
challenge.
court.
Challenge.
Anybody. Yes.
All right. So did you play sports in high school?
Yes.
Yeah.
I played basketball for 7 years.
7 years.
7 years.
Oh, wow.
I played volleyball for 4, softball for 3.
Oh,
So yeah.
okay.
I
Yeah. So
just-
you're definitely not. So honestly, I would be scared. Like I wouldn't challenge you. But anybody else out there listening, you want to challenge Dr.
Right,
Carmen?
Right.
Try her.
Give me
Try
some
her.
notice now. You got to give me notice.
Now, do you get to play with the boys?
I don't, not often. I mean, I give them coaching tips, but not like get out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
They want me to, but no.
All right. So as we're wrapping up, where can the audience find you?
Sure. I'm on Instagram at Carmen J. Harris 32. I spend most of my time on Facebook, so you can find me there. I am Carmen Harris on Facebook. And those are primarily the 2 platforms that I use as far as for social. Most times my Twitter is connected to work, so, but you can find me there as well, Carmen J. Harris.
Awesome. Well, ladies, thank you so much for tuning in. I am looking in the comment section right now to see if there's any questions. This would be your opportunity to ask any questions. Dr. Carmen is here for the next 2 or 3 minutes. So if you have a question for her, right now is the opportunity. And just to let you know, your husband did say that she's not going to take anybody and not going to try. So is that the protective husband here?
Yes, he knows my ankles, I need He knows, yes.
All right. He said that was a different age range. Oh, my goodness. He is so funny. He is so funny. He's definitely stalking.
Right, yes.
I love it. All right. So any questions? Now is your opportunity. And as I'm waiting to see, you're very welcome, Tracy. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure that you're following us, Chosen, at Chosen813. So that's on Facebook. That's on Instagram. That's on YouTube as well. You guys know because you're already on YouTube here. Make sure that you share this. Share this so that other women can be inspired. They can learn a little bit about success and what that looks like, and just getting to know each other as well. We are here to empower. We believe that empowered women empower women, and so that's what we're here for. So I am not seeing any questions, but I want to give a shout out to my behind the scenes crew because we're not doing this by ourselves. We are not here by ourselves. We have Lynn Williams. I call her the tech engineer. She gave me a look like, so I got scared there for a minute. We got Morales Hood. What would be your title? I think I said online host. So we're definitely not doing this by ourselves. This is a team effort. So I thank you for the behind the scenes. And every month I also give a shout out to Pastor Darnell. This crossover studio really is run by him. We're always asking for his assistance and his help. And I'll be very honest with you. You may have heard some noise in the background. It's all good. That's part of our Lion King production rehearsal that was happening. So we're excited for that as well. So we will do what we have to. Thank you for being here tonight. We love you, and we'll see you next month. Thank you for tuning in to Chosen Voices, Women Making Waves. This show will be available on our YouTube channel, Crossover Chosen. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and share. You can also check out at Chosen813 on Facebook and Instagram. And to connect with me, your host, Lucy Kyllonen, check out my website, lucyk.me, or my social media platforms at LucyK813. We hope you enjoy the show. Now go make some waves.